things first. Let's just go through the points before I start talking about any of the games, or, well, one game in particular, really. 83 points for the week. Very happy with that. Did use the bench boost, so got an extra 9 from there. But even 74 would have still been really good, so I'm just actually really happy with that. De Gea was a no-brainer this week, wasn't it, really, with Man United playing Stoke. I was surprised by Brighton. I'll go into that later. I thought that was probably at least going to be a 0-0 or maybe a Brighton win. Fair play to West Brom. Obviously, I favoured Man City in the Man City-Liverpool game. I always knew it was going to be tight. That's why I didn't bother putting any Man City attackers in. I say tight, but what I meant was I didn't have too much of a clue what was going to happen. I just didn't want to spend more points on getting rid of players, but I didn't want to replace players because I wasn't sure what was going to happen. I didn't know if they were going to cancel each other out, or I mean, it was very different in the end, wasn't it? But there you go. So Walker got 3 to get an assist, but he obviously conceded like 4 goals. Otamendi got booked, I think, and conceded 4 goals, so he ended up on a -1. So brilliant there, I guess. Decor for Watford, very happy with him. Really, really good player, by the way, Decor. Or Decore, sorry, might be, I don't know which one. I genuinely can see him going to a top 6 club in the summer, or a much bigger club anyway. Maybe not necessarily in England, but like I could see him do a really good job in Arsenal's midfield right now. Just that kind of powerful player that they kind of need, and you know, back in the day that would have been the sort of player who Wenger, I think, would have snapped up from the French league. But here we are, I guess. But yeah, I could definitely see him. Like, he kind of reminds me of a sort of poor man's Vieira, if that makes sense. And that's not an insult, because Vieira was a, you know, what they call a Rolls Royce of a player. You know, he could do everything. But I think Decore has. I feel like he's got that same sort of like power and like presence. In a way, maybe not quite as good. He also scores some really, really fantastic goals. Like, his long range shooting is superb. And just, yeah, he's obviously a very powerful player. So it's no coincidence that Watford have done pretty well this season, and this guy's been on form. How many goals? He's got 7 goals, 5 assists. No, 1 assist, sorry. 5 clean sheets. That 7 goals from him is pretty darn good. If you saw that one, I think it's up for goal of the month, where he just kind of like, it seems to spend ages just teeing it up and then just absolutely hammers it from outside the area off a corner. Not quite Paul Scholes, but pretty darn good. The trio here, the Tottenham trio, did very well. Obviously, Kane was actually on 13, same as Son, but because he's got the double points, the captain gets 26. Ali, not quite as good, probably would have been better off with maybe Eriksen, I think, but still, you know, happy with those 3. I watched that game on TV, so I'll give my thoughts on that one as well, because it was quite interesting, I thought. Again, another cross at Brighton, didn't really do anything. Disappointed in Lingard, for sure. Thought he was going to maybe pop up with a goal, but nothing there. And, I mean, Lukaku got a goal, so, you know, on the bench, nothing happening there in Barnes and Gomez, but Kelly getting a really good 6 points here for Crystal Palace in what was really a fantastic win against Burnley. So let's kind of like flick through all of these, and then we'll kind of talk about the main one, because I think that's the Man City Liverpool game is the main talking point. So Chelsea Leicester, not too much to talk about there, I guess. Chelsea struggling, I guess, up front a little bit. Morata is misfiring a little bit. They look a little bit out of sorts, I think, at the minute. And I know that I think it's kind of down to Conte, because there seems to be this feeling that he's going to leave at the end of the season. Like, he doesn't seem to be happy. Maybe the club aren't happy with him. They're not really buying players players that he necessarily wants. They're buying players for the future. Like, I think Ross Barkley is an example. I believe he actually turned around and said, Conte, that that was not a player he chose, that was a club player the club chose. Which is certainly interesting. So it does feel like there's a big rift there. And I mean, wouldn't be the first time, would it, that a manager has just fallen out with, Chelsea's hierarchy, especially over transfer signings. So it's interesting because I think back in the day, especially like the kind of first Mourinho era, Chelsea were the big spenders, weren't they? They were the ones who everybody was like, oh, this Abramovich guy is ruining football. They can just go and buy anyone, and Mourinho was just literally going out and buying anybody he wanted, breaking transfer records, doing what the hell he wanted. And it kind of feels like now that certainly they're not offering that to... they are spending big money on players, but it doesn't feel like they are the number one spenders. Certainly feels like the two Manchester clubs are way outspending them. Even Liverpool to a certain extent. Look at Van Dijk, that was a real statement. It doesn't feel like Chelsea, I don't know. I mean, clearly they need a manager who's going to be happier, I guess, dealing with the board and the owner, I guess, in a way. And Conte is such a passionate, outspoken manager that I feel that was never going to happen. But I hope Conte goes for another job in England. I actually thought maybe the Arsenal job, but that would be funny, wouldn't it? Because I really like him as a manager. I think I like that passion he's got. I just think he's a really good manager. I'd love to have him at my club. And I don't know. I guess you could, if you're going to say who could Chelsea get, who's better, but I guess the argument would be you've got there are better managers out there, I guess, but I don't know necessarily who they would want to bring in. They've struggled with managers over the years, haven't they? Chelsea. Apart from the kind of Mourinho, they struggle with the stability, and you have to say that's probably down to the owner there. So I don't know. Leicester, I guess you could argue that's a good 0-0 for them. Leicester up at 8th and doing pretty well, I guess. I think the biggest worry about Leicester after obviously that freak season when they won the league was that they were just going to just fade away to obscurity. And I think the best thing that can happen to them is to get a couple of high mid-table-y finishes and look to invest that money in future players and keep that really good scouting network they've obviously got going. I know they lost Steve Walsh to Everton, I want to say, who was thought to be kind of a key guy in the Mahrez, Kante, Vardy sort of signings, but I don't think many Leicester City fans would expect their team to constantly be challenging for the title. I would imagine they'd be happy with some top 8 finishes with perhaps a good cup run, maybe sneaking a cup win here or there, and maybe every now and then sneaking a Europa League campaign sort of thing. I think they'd be happy. That's my dream as a Crystal Palace fan, believe me. But I guess you have to wait and see. Now, Crystal Palace Burnley, fantastic win for Crystal Palace. Sacco, the man, doing very well. Crystal Palace, we still desperately need some strikers. We've been linked with 3 that I know of. That's Saka from West Ham, which funnily enough would mean we'd have 3 Sackos in the team. Boubacar, I think, of Fiorentina, and Nias of Everton. All that kind of strong physical presence up front, really. But we desperately need it because Benteke is not really firing at the minute. I'm not saying he's playing badly, I'm just saying that he's not really firing, and I'm not saying one of the things people will say about Benteke is he can be a lazy player, he can just not be in the game, but I don't generally feel that he has been like that under Roy. I feel like he has tried imagine it would be interesting as well, because like, would Roy stick to his 4-4-2 and play someone alongside Benteke, or would he keep Zaha up front, and then play someone alongside him? I'd be interested to see. But overall, very happy with that Crystal Palace win. Burnley are a fantastically organised side, obviously having a brilliant season. They're in 7th, and that puts Crystal Palace up to 12th. That's a team who didn't win or score a goal or get a point in the first 7 games this season, and we're in 12th now, and we are 5 points clear of the relegation zone. So fair play to Roy. I mean, one thing I will say is this: we've always had very good players. So as much as a lot of people do bang on about Roy Hodgson, and don't get me wrong, I think he's done a very good job, I would say that he's had some very good players to work with, and Zaha returning to form, coinciding with him coming back, is no coincidence either. I would say that if one of these managers who comes in perhaps and saves, and if they manage to save like a Swansea or a West Brom, that would probably be a bigger achievement, because I don't feel like their squads are anywhere near as good as Crystal Palace. Stoke, I feel, do have a pretty good squad, but I feel like Brighton, West Brom, Swansea and probably Newcastle have the weakest squads in the league. So I would imagine that if one of their managers is going to keep one of those teams up, and I would say that would be a very good job. But yeah, so very happy with that win. West Ham winning 4-1. Now, isn't this an interesting kind of game? I'm not going to turn around and say I'm wrong about David Moyes. I don't like David Moyes as a manager. I don't think he's a very good manager. And I think that will come to fruition with West Ham eventually. However, I will say that he has done a very good job with West Ham. But in the same way with Crystal Palace, they had a very good squad. Like, it's like Sam Allardyce coming in at Everton. Nobody's turning around and saying like Sam Allardyce is working miracles at Everton, especially not with their form currently. But my point is, they have a very good squad. They don't have, like, I would imagine Eddie Howe is doing a better job than most of these guys here, because Bournemouth obviously don't have the best squad in the league. David Wagner, Huddersfield doing a fantastic job, Newcastle, and Brighton. So, people are going on and saying, "Oh, he's he's turned West Ham around," but West Ham had some quality players in their team, real high quality. I will say that Arnautovic has seemed to step on a bit, but we'll see. It's still very early days. The same with Roy. At the end of the day, we could go on a terrible run at the end of the season and get relegated, or we could, stay in 12th for the rest of the season and then have a terrible start next season. You can't really judge a manager. I mean, I know that David Moyes will have a short-term goal, and that is to keep West Ham in the Premier League, try and finish as high as he can, and it looks like he's going to do a very good job on that. But from a long-term point of view, I don't know how well he's going to do at West Ham. So we'll see, I guess. Newcastle won, Swansea won. I guess Newcastle probably would have wanted to win that. I wonder if we're going to see some sort of turnaround from Swansea. I just saw that they're playing Liverpool. Oh my god. R.I.P. Swansea. Although typically Liverpool, that's the sort of game they'd end up losing or drawing. But yeah, I guess it's... I don't know. I personally don't see Swansea being able to stay up. An interesting point I've seen a lot of people make, about Renato Sanchez, who went there on loan for Bayern Munich, and who was widely tipped by a lot of people to be the best young player in the world currently. But he has looked terrible. He's looked like a Sunday League player. So I don't know what happened. Maybe it's just that he's used to playing with a better quality players, or maybe he's not used to playing in the Premier League. I don't really know, but he's not been good. And I would probably say that he is playing in the team because of one of two reasons: either because he's known as a very good player, or because there might be something in his loan contract to say he has to play at least a certain number of games. Watford 2, Southampton 2. Decor, as I said before, scoring a really good goal. I think Southampton were 2 up, weren't they? I seem to remember that as a thing. I'm literally just going to check that because let me see. I seem to remember there's like somebody, I swear, was 2-0 up. I think it was Southampton who were 2 up. I didn't watch all of Match of the Day 2, unfortunately, because I had to go to work. But oh well, I can't find it now. But anyway, I guess that's a pretty solid draw for both sides there. Both sides not in the best of form, are they really? Southampton haven't won in 5, Watford have, but they've had 3 defeats as well. Some of the teams around them, Swansea and Brighton, pretty bad. Obviously, no disgrace losing to City. They did beat Leicester. I guess they got a draw, and they got Leicester again. That's weird. I guess it's not really weird, is it? Because we're going round the cycle of each of the teams playing each other again. But yeah, this was a surprise. West Brom beating Brighton. Maybe there's a turnaround now coming for West Brom. At the end of the day, West Brom are only 2 points away from safety. You know, Swansea are only 4 points away, so it only does take like a few wins and confidence building, or a good signing who's going to come in and do a great job for you. But when you look at these stats and you see that West Brom have only won 3 times in the Premier League in 23 games this season, and you can see that they have scored the 3rd least goals in the league. Amazingly, look at this: Burnley 19 goals, conceded only 20. Kind of phenomenal. But yeah, when you're going to, I mean, to be fair, they've only conceded 30. Stoke conceded 50. But yeah, my point is that there's still plenty of time. They're not that much adrift that they can't get out of it yet. So I kind of hope they do. Like, I always have a soft spot for Pardew. I know he's not a very good manager, but and he's a bit of a twat, but like, he's an ex-Palace player, he's an ex-Palace manager, and like, that does mean something still. And he did do alright when he was with us, to be fair. He had a little bit of a blip, but it wasn't necessarily all down to him, I would say. Spurs Everton, I watched this match. Spurs were just absolutely dominant. They really were. It was like watching a Premier League side against like a League 2 side in the cup or something. Spurs just looked like they were going to score every time they attacked, and Everton, with new signing Dawson up front, he did okay, but as I said, Everton they weren't at the races. They weren't doing anything. Yeah, I'd look at that and say Spurs just on their day are an exceptionally good side. Like, when they can play their starting 11 and all that sort of stuff. And Everton are going through a very rough patch right now. They've got West Brom coming up. They drew with them on Boxing Day. They lost to Everton. They lost to Man United and Tottenham, which are 2 very tough games. So I can't begrudge them that. But they got, I think, it's going to be an interesting game, because I'm not saying I don't think Everton will be down in the relegation zone again. I think they've done enough to get out of there now. But if they lose 4 in a row, I just wonder, it does seem to be like a confidence thing at Everton, almost. And I'm just not sure. It's so weird. They spent so much money. I know they lost Lukaku, so net spend is probably not that much, but But I know like net spend is not that probably as high as some clubs, but it just kind of almost feels like they've lost something. You know, they did not look good against Spurs at all, and Spurs looked really good. I mean, Spurs are making a bit of a charge for those Champions League places. It's a good form. 4 wins out of 5. They play Southampton away. They can get a result there for sure, and that's a bad game to play for Southampton, with them hovering around the relegation. Yeah, so you know, it will be interesting still. I'll say like this, that I believe the top 5 is going to be these 5 teams now. I don't think Arsenal are going to get anywhere near. We'll talk about them, but I think they're going to be near these 5, and I just still think City's going to win the league. But I think out of these 4 teams, I could see potentially them swapping places and doing all sorts of things. Obviously, it depends. We've still got a couple of weeks of the transfer window left, and it's going to be interesting to see who signs who. There's lots of where's Alexis Sanchez going, for example? He's been linked with this City, United, even Liverpool and Chelsea. So that could almost be a deciding factor for these teams. Will Tottenham spend? Will Chelsea spend any money? Liverpool already have, and they've lost Coutinho. Are they going to replace him? Are Man United going to try and I said before, Man United are not having a bad season. It's just Man City are having a way better one. So I don't know. It's interesting. Bournemouth, Arsenal. I did see this one as well, and I gotta say that Bournemouth totally deserved that win. Arsenal went ahead through Bellerin and just looked awful. Like, this is a sign of things to come, I feel, for Arsenal fans, unless they make some very good signings or they change the manager, because they obviously didn't play Ozil and Sanchez. Sanchez looking like he's going to move imminently, according to Wenger, and Ozil, well, I don't feel like Ozil's going to go to the end of the season. He is going to go, isn't he? I mean, if they lose Sanchez and they don't really manage to sign anybody, I feel like he's going to go as well. And in reality then, I think what they're left with is Lacazette, who's a very good striker. And that pause is because I don't know what else they're left with. I feel like most of their other players are players who would not walk into a top 6 side. Okay, top 5, because Arsenal are in the top 6. Okay, but are you saying that Iwobi would get into any of those teams above? No, he wouldn't. Would Welbeck? No. Would Jack Wilshere? No. And don't get me wrong, Jack Wilshere's had an upturn in form, but he still wouldn't get in any of those sides. Would any of the defenders get in? No. Would Petr Cech? No. I mean, Hector Bellerin, you might argue, has looked good, but he's very bad defensively. I don't feel like any Arsenal player would walk into one of those sides. I know Ramsey's still coming back from injury. I know Koscielny as well is coming back from injury, or is still injured technically. But I don't feel like I feel like Arsenal are a mid-table side right now. I don't see their team being much better than a Leicester, Everton, one of those type of sides really, and that's shocking. That is actually like almost criminal mismanagement, Sometimes you can have the thing I don't understand, you see, is sometimes you can have like a club where it is being mismanaged, like that you can see, but for some reason on the outside Arsenal always look like they make good decisions about things, but on sometimes they just drop the ball so badly that it just screws everything else up. And I mean, some of the signings they've made recently just have not worked out. They seem to have waited too long to fill key positions that it almost like sometimes sometimes you would identify where they need someone in a position, and it would take them like 2 seasons to actually recruit somebody in that position. And I mean, I'll be honest with you, I think everything comes down to Arsene Wenger. I think he's stubborn and arrogant. I think he still feels like he can do the same job that he did, back when they had the Invincibles and people, and that type of thing. He can still bring through players and still do that. And either he is losing his ability to do that, he's losing that kind of aura of greatness that he had, or he just deep down doesn't really want to do it anymore. Sometimes you can be very bullish about things and be like, yeah, I'm going to do this, I'm going to prove these people wrong, let's do this. But deep down your heart's just like, I just can't do this anymore. And I feel like it could be a case of that with Wenger, but on the outside he's just too afraid to try and do anything else. And I think you also get a point whereby he had such a great legacy, and it almost feels like he's pissed that away. And the fact that will he be remembered for the Invincibles, will he be remembered for the FA Cup wins, would he be remembered for nearly winning that European Cup final, or would he be remembered for destroying what he had built, basically. If I was Arsene Wenger this season, I'd turn around and be like, right, the Euro Cup is 100% where we're going to try and focus. I'd even go to the point of resting players in the Premier League. Who gives a fuck if Arsenal finishes 6th or 10th? I know their fans probably do, they don't want to, but what I'm saying is they win the UEFA Cup, and they get into the Champions League from there. Arsene Wenger could walk away with his head held up and be like, I've brought a European trophy to Arsenal. Yeah, we didn't have a great time in the league in the last few seasons or whatever, but he could walk out on a bus parade, leave. Someone else can come in with the money from the Champions League and the prestige of being in the Champions League next season. I know it's not as simple to turn around and win the Euro League or UEFA Cup, whatever the hell it's called nowadays, but and I've just been slagging off Arsenal players, but I think they're capable of doing it, and that's, to be fair, as well, I put all my eggs, because I can't see them catching this top 5 now. And I don't know, Crystal Palace play them next, that'll be fun. And just a quick word, I guess, on well done to Bournemouth, though. I thought they did really well. Man United battering Stoke in trouble. They just appointed Paul Lambert, which is a very interesting signing. Everybody was saying Quique Sanchez Flores, the ex-Watford manager, was going to go in there, who did a really good job at Watford, and I wouldn't have been, I think that would have been a good signing for him. Paul Lambert, though, has a very, in two minds on Paul Lambert. He's done some really good things at Norwich and Aston Villa, and he also had some very bad times there, so I guess it depends which Paul Lambert they're going to get. But they're in serious trouble. They play Huddersfield next, and you've got to feel like that's a must-win game for them at this point, at home to Huddersfield. They don't have the worst squad in the world. I'd kind of love them to go down, because I'd really love Palace to sign Shaqiri. If we lose Zaha and sign Shaqiri, I actually would be okay with that in a way, because I love Shaqiri. I think he's a fantastic player. But we'll see, won't we? And Man United, I mean, they're doing what? Mourinho was never ever going to do anything but win that match, was he? Never ever. And I mean, they had some bad draws here. These are bad draws, and they must be kicking themselves now, because if they were on 56 points, having beaten Burnley and having beaten Southampton, they could put some serious pressure on Man City. They'd only be 6 points behind. But as it is, I feel like they still have a mountain to climb, even though Liverpool beat Manchester City. Fantastic game, absolutely fantastic. I didn't get to watch all of it, but I certainly watched all the highlights. I watched the goals several times, mostly the Liverpool ones. I watched many other clips as well, like of Robertson, the left back, and this was probably like game of the season. I think what I loved most about this game though was that at the end of the game, no one was talking about a referee's decision or some controversy about something or other, or did this person dive or whatever. It was just simply like these two teams just went at each other, and one of the team managed to score more goals than the other one, and it was phenomenal. Like, it was brilliant. Liverpool, like, if they played like that every game, which they couldn't, by the way, they could not play like that every game. If they did, they would be world champions right now. Like, they'd be in the World Cup, they'd win the World Cup, because they were fantastic. Their work rate was just second to none. The goals they scored, every single one of these goals, should be up for goal of the month, and that is not an exaggeration. Chamberlain bursting through and scoring with a low finish, early on. Mane with what, in my opinion, was the best goal of the four. Just the shot he took was just phenomenal. Firmino was the one after, I think, the third one, I think, where he muscles out John Stones and then chips the keeper. Kind of felt like Danilo could have gone running in there and maybe hooked that out, but anyway. And then Salah with a kind of like 35-yard, 40-yard like chip of Edison after he kicked out, poorly cleared a ball, and it was just, every goal was phenomenal. Like, I think if they played that game another 5 times, Liverpool would not win, because they scored so many amazing goals that it's just phenomenal. Liverpool obviously went 4-1 up, but Man City were coming back. I was listening to it on the radio as it was playing, and I generally thought Man City were going to get the 4-4. That would have been phenomenal. But yeah, every kind of Liverpool player played really well, probably apart from Karius. They didn't have Coutinho, obviously, and they didn't have Van Dijk either, so I actually felt like they played better without Coutinho, because then they could have more of a physical presence in the middle without him. I know he's a fantastic player and everything, but I feel like they might not miss him as much as a lot of people think they will. They won't miss him as much as Arsenal will miss Sanchez, I'll tell you that now. And obviously there's still goals flowing. Firmino, for me, is one of the best attackers in the league right now. He's doing brilliantly. Obviously Salah is just out of this world this season. Mane as well is consistently excellent. And if Chamberlain can claim a stake in that central midfield with more games like that, then he'll be in that England squad. He'll be in that England team. In the summer. But Man City weren't bad. I will say that much. Man City, it's not like Man City came out and had a bad day. Like, they are missing some players as well, obviously. Sane scored a good goal. Again, I feel like Liverpool defended, like Man City's goals, I feel like were very poor defending by Liverpool. Like, all of them were bad defending, really bad. All Liverpool's goals were incredible attacking moves. Sane did really well, but there was like Joe Gomez to begin with. It's just, I don't know what the hell he was doing. And then Karius potentially shouldn't have been beaten at the near post. You could argue it's a very good finish, but and then the other two were very scrappy goals, were just very poor defending in my opinion. I think going forward, if Liverpool want to win things, they're going to have to get a new goalkeeper. I hope they don't do an Arsenal where it takes them about 6 years to actually realise they need a new goalkeeper, and that the ones they keep buying are not good enough, and actually go out there and be like, right, let's actually get pull out all the stops and get a big goalkeeper. Again, I don't really feel like that many Man City players had a really bad day. Just Liverpool pressed them so hard that they were flustered, really. But no one's gonna like that. Like, show me a team in the world apart from maybe Barcelona from the Guardiola era with Xavi and Iniesta, who could actually withstand that sort of pressure. Like, it was phenomenal. There's a clip on YouTube of like Andrew Robertson, the left back of Liverpool, who like went from pressed about 4 players in a row, just chased them up in the 75th minute, and I believe the stats were that Liverpool, of the total amount of running, they ran 6 kilometres more in this game than any other game this season. So they worked their socks off and they got the reward, and I almost felt as well that afterwards in the press conferences, Guardiola was smiling, and I feel like actually the best thing that could have happened to City was to lose a game of some sort, and probably Liverpool as well, because 2 things. I don't think Liverpool, I mean, I guess they could push them, but they're still 15 points behind Man City. Like, it's better than losing to Man United or possibly Chelsea. But Liverpool also played their hearts out to beat Man City, They played their best game of the season without a doubt. And I feel like the pressure's off City now to go through and get that unbeaten run. Because you could tell City were getting nervy. Those games over Christmas, were having an effect. And I feel like now it's kind of like a relief of like, right, let's this out of our system. We are beatable. That is going to happen. But at the end of the day, they've been beaten once and drawn twice and won 20 games out of 23 with a goal difference of +50. Unless they have a spectacular collapse, I can't see them not winning the league. So, even if Man United win every single game they have left this season, City still need to lose 4. And frankly, they haven't got 4 games that they're going to lose. I don't think they've got to play Man United again, I think, at home. And I think they've got to play Chelsea at home and possibly Tottenham away, perhaps, or at home or something. Like, that was literally their hardest game of the season left, I think. And I feel now they can play with a little bit more like freedom and less of a kind of like gut-wrenching, we can't lose, we're going to be unbeaten. And so it was so strange to see both managers smiling at the end of that, and not complaining about a referee, and just being like, wow, that was just incredible, and it was incredible. It was everything the Premier League is about, the pace, power, drama, everything, and phenomenal game, absolutely phenomenal. If you haven't seen the highlights to it or something like that, watch them, go and watch it seriously, because it was just so good. I mean, City, as I said, did not play badly. They played well, and on any other given day, they would have probably beaten Liverpool. It's just Liverpool those goals were so good, phenomenal. It's just a pleasure to have games like that, in the Premier League, where so many times we see, a big team go against another big team you like, and it's just a massive disappointment because they both cancel each other out. And I was worried that was what was going to happen, and maybe it was going to be a 1-0 or something like that. But it lived up to everything, and I gotta admit, I love Jurgen Klopp as a manager. I love the way his teams play. I love him as, the charisma of him as well, and the fact that someone like Van Dijk comes out. You probably could have had his pick of most of the clubs in Europe, and says, I want to work with this guy. You can understand why. Like, I'd go and work for him. I'd just make the tea or something, but you just get the feeling like, he could be doing something special at Liverpool. But again, he's got to sort that fucking goalkeeper out. So yeah, let's chat about that next week. I guess the big game is obviously Arsenal Crystal Palace. I'm kind of joking, but also kind of not, because that does look like that. It could be like possibly the most interesting. Palace on a bit of a decent run. Arsenal, not so much. And yeah, we beat them already this season. So did we? No, we beat them last season. Sorry, they beat us this season. Pretty sure. Can't even remember now. So yeah, it could be interesting for sure. Otherwise, you would think Chelsea would beat Brighton. I wouldn't think Man United would beat Burnley. imagine Spurs to beat Southampton, you imagine Liverpool to beat Swansea. And in actual fact, because of this, I think I'm going to do some. Am I going to do transfers now? Yeah, I think so, you know. Okay, I can't do that because I need another striker, okay. Oh, Firmino. Absolutely, Firmino's phenomenal. Spurs, I feel like they're going to get something against Southampton, so I might keep these guys in for sure. I got 2.9, so I'm thinking, should I get rid of Lingard? Yeah, I don't have much faith in them. I'd love to put Salah in more than anyone else. So I might have to do a thing where we Brighton are playing Chelsea, so I don't think they're going to get much out of that. So I could drop 2, put in Salah. That leaves me with 4.8 million. Doesn't leave me with a lot in midfield, does it? But I'd just play those 4 anyway. So midfielders, the maximum price of 4.8. Who's that leaving with? Atsu, although no, because they're playing Man City. Milicevic actually does take penalties. Do I fancy? MacArthur's been scoring quite freely as well recently. Yeah. So can anybody else who might be a thing there? For me, it's between MacArthur, Milicevic, and I'm going to go MacArthur there. And put that. So we've got Firmino, Salah, we've got the Tottenham guys. I've obviously got Man City defenders there, hoping to get some clean sheets. I'll probably put Liverpool. Let's make those transfers. I know I'm going to lose 8 points. I'm fine with that. So I probably want him, Gomez in there. Yeah, that's probably fine. I think I wouldn't mind putting Kelly in, but I'm actually okay with that. And then I think, I'll make Salah captain. I feel like he's on form at the minute, and I feel like he's going to get some goals against Swansea, so I feel like I'd go with that. Let me know how you're going to go. As always, I'm interested. Some big matches coming up, and I guess I'll see you next week. Still then, guys, thank you for watching, and I'll see you soon. Bye bye.